remember those days, those L's. I couldn't sleep right now. I get paid, vacay, I'm staying B-side. Breaking the blues over steak, I gotta eat right. You could be my peace sign. I don't need bad energy around me. I just need sun, you're so cloudy. I wake up good, you're so grouchy. Please get from around me. When the truth don't work, you start telling lies. Thought you were down to ride, you weren't down to ride. Caught switching, you were picking sides. Don't blink, caught slipping like a slip and slide. I was shooting dice till I got a nosebleed. Money on the floor, can't get cold feet. Took a L, should've put it in the offering. Lord, forgive me for my sins, don't know of me. Scary thoughts, I got scary thoughts. Lost control, now I'm taking charge. Breaking bills, friends breaking off. You could be the youngest, I'm the dawn. Kiss the ring, nah. In the scene like GOT. Stay awake, don't sleep.
Stay awake, don't sleep. Hello. We are running a little bit behind today. Well, actually, I'm not running behind, but I am for my usual time. But there were some issues with Restream earlier. So, and then I came on at 12:45, and the weird thing is it kicked me off 2 minutes in. So I had to recreate another stream. No biggie. We just keep it moving forward, right? That's how we roll. You know, we don't let negative energy take over and rent space in our heads and get off on a tangent. We just try again, you know. Every failure leads you closer to a success. So we are on here now. And the topic of today, first off, before I get into any topic, shout out to the J Crew, the subscribers that we have. We went up another one, gang. Back up to 580. So we are in the 580s and we are approaching 1,000 subscribers. We are on the road to 1K, approaching 600 at the moment. And if you know anybody that likes motivational streams, or if they like reality TV recaps and reviews, tell them to check us out. We're on here every day at 12 in the afternoon. And it is usually me and my lovely wife, Jen, also known as Vegan Knowledge. And she does a live stream every Monday night called Meatless Monday for those of you who are out there considering becoming vegan or switching over to a completely plant-based diet, or at least weaning yourself off the standard American diet and trying to go into plant-based. We do Meatless Monday on her channel, which there will be a link in this description of this video for her channel if you want to tune in Monday nights, usually around 8 o'clock. Every Tuesday on this channel, we do Takeover Tuesday. And basically what we do, or the Tuesday Takeover, is we recap 90 Day Fiancé. And right now we are currently recapping Happily Ever After as well as The Single Life. So they're about to finish up on those seasons. And, you know, we also do random reviews from time to time on Thursday nights from 60 Days In, which I know, it's taken a different turn from the love story. And shout out to Buddha 1000, one of the J Crew members, suggested recapping Love is Blind. So I was pleased to find out from her on Tuesday night in the comment section that Love is Blind is back for a third season. I've seen 1 and 2. So I'm excited about that. And if Buddha is anywhere in the vicinity and listening, I did start binging that. So I think I got through episode 1 and I think I'm working on 2. And I know maybe I'm working on 3. I don't know. I've kind of been drifting in and out of it, but I know one couple is already engaged. And I can't remember their names off the top of my head, but it's the full-figured young lady and the blondie, the guy that's got the blonde highlights. Yeah, I was feeling them. You know, I was feeling them. So shout out to the 580 subscribers that we have in the J Crew. If you want to leave a comment or join the panel on the live stream, which I usually end up throwing a link in the chat at some point, you got to be a subscriber. Got to hit that subscribe button for me. And if you're already a subscriber and you're listening, hit the like button. and share the video. Get other people in here with us so we can have a good time. We're going to have a good time regardless, but so we can share information, thoughts, ideas, and opinions. So, you've got two shows that center around this theory that love is blind. One is Love is Blind, okay, appropriately named. And the second one, where are we at? Okay, the first one is Love is Blind. Speaking of which, I am legally blind. So for those of you who are not familiar with me as your host, I am legally blind. So yeah, I struggle a little bit from time to time reading chats and things like that. But hey, we get through it. I have lovely people who help me, like my wife Jen and Ro and Buddha and Dolly Bush. Those guys, they know what's up. So, but yeah, so let's see, wrong pick. That's the pods. Wait a minute. You guys didn't bring in my is that it? Yes, there it is. Okay, so there's the logo for Love is Blind. It's a pretty cool show. I like it. I know Jen and I watch it, and I remember Bennett from the first season. That was crazy. He had a love triangle going on that just would not stop. The one girl would not let go of the idea that she could hook up with Bennett. Those of you that are familiar with the series. And then, we've had quite a few couples. There's an interracial couple that really took off that season and did real well. That, I'm really proud of them. They sight unseen, they decided to commit, and that's the premise of Love is Blind. They meet in these pods and they do not see each other, obviously, because you can see there with the pods, they're facing each other, but they do not see each other. And they enter the pods and begin to have conversations with the person who is directly across from them. Okay. And you got guys on one side, girls on the other side, and they come in and they talk to each other and they get to know each other. And they decide sight unseen through these conversations, by getting to know each other, and hopefully each one of them is being truthful, that is this somebody I could see myself marrying? That's right, sight unseen, never met them. And they get into these pretty in-depth conversations, and it begs the question, is that possible? Or is this just a scripted show that we're all falling prey to, and we love the idea of it, so we buy in, Is it real? Is it possible for someone to talk to someone completely sight unseen and fall in love with that person? You know nothing about them. You haven't lived with them. You haven't spent any time with them, but you meet them in this situation where you don't see them. You don't know anything about what they look like, what race they are, what body type they have, if they're quote unquote attractive, which is beauty is in the eye of the beholder, right? Somebody might like somebody with big bug eyes and buck teeth. You never know. Some people, hey, everybody's wasn't born looking like Adonises and Beyonce's. So, is it real? Is it possible? So I think personally, if you just go on looks alone, it is very superficial to do that, but it is a part of it, just like Married at First Sight, right? These people agreed to get married to someone sight unseen. The first time they see him is at the altar. And then there was one couple seasons back, took a chance and the groom requested that he and the bride be blindfolded, so that they legit didn't see each other until they were standing face to face across from each other. Not even seeing her walk down the aisle. She didn't see him as she approached the altar. They didn't see each other until she got to the altar and then they lifted the blindfold. I thought that was a pretty cool idea. Nobody's done it before that or since then, but I thought that was pretty cool. And Love is Blind does the same thing, but they take it to a whole nother level because people aren't getting married right off the top. You know, Married at First Sight ain't playing. They committing your ass right off the top. But Love is Blind, you get to at least meet and talk first and find out or figure out if this is somebody that you could see yourself with. Now, could the person be lying? Yeah, they could, about the information that they're giving you about themselves. Could they be sort of kind of conversationally catfishing you and leading you to believe that there's something that they're not? Yeah, they could. But the idea of this is once they finish these conversations, they have to know enough about the person. The idea is to get engaged by the time they finish these pod conversations. And they get to converse with everybody there, and it is a heterosexual show. So they're not having women talking to women or men talking to men yet. But the guys get a chance to go through. And, I noticed that once they're in, and we're going to welcome Vegan Knowledge JJ to the stream. Hey, sweetie.
Hey there. Thank you for having me.
Yes, ma'am. Always. Always a pleasure. Um, but I was talking about Love is Blind, and how these people, once they have enough conversations with different people, they start narrowing it down, and then they begin to narrow down who they want and start having more conversations with just those couple of people, and then obviously it whittles down to one person when they realize, okay, I think Jen is my person. So I'm going to withdraw from having conversations from anybody else, and I'm going to let her know that I'm exclusively interested in her, and we're going to continue to chat. Once they're done, it is up to one of them to say, okay, I've heard enough. Will you marry me? And once the person accepts, they then get to meet each other. They have them go dress up. They have them in this nice room where they're behind a what's that, like a shield, Jen? They're standing behind a shield, and all you see is their silhouette, and then the shield lifts and they walk towards each other and see each other for the first time. How
That
do you how do you feel about this show? You like it?
I love the show just because I think it's makes interesting TV
Yep.
to see that. And I have like two schools of thought on this. Um I do feel like it's possible to love someone based on the spirit that you feel and the connection. So I
Hmm.
have seen situations where people have that energy. So I feel like it all kind of connects in a big circle.
Yeah.
However, we've seen a lot of instances on Married at First Sight, which is another show that kind of like throws people in these situations. And you'll see people that connect and you can just tell they've got a vibe. And it might not even be something to do with their looks, but I find that when you can see that connection between them,
Yeah.
and you see that somebody's turned off by somebody, sometimes the women, it's been, not to put like stereotypical things, but I've seen it where the woman was not attracted to the man, but she's able to come around by like getting into his, spirit, and then she turns it around. By the end she's madly in love with this guy and stays married. But a lot of times when the guy's not attracted at first, it's a little bit harder, at least on this show it has been, for him to come around and get to that point, even, that he may find he likes all these qualities about her. I don't know if it's just this show or, you know that it has to do with, that is something that's a little bit harder for a guy to get past. But I feel like it might look on the outside superficial, but I feel like when they connect, and if they are so connected, they can actually really spiritually love each other. Like, I love your spirit, I feel it and that's why we look into each other's eyes and we can connect. Like, is it that, or are they just there's a physical attraction, but then they could get to know each other and really not like
And
each other?
not like each other, right?
You know,
I want to send a shout out to Buddha 1000.
Buddha,
Hey, Buddha. Shout out to Rap God Reloaded. I see you down there, RGR.
RGR.
Um, and so I'm gonna let me see. Let
Rap
me
God
go.
said spiritual love is the best love. That is
I
so
I,
true.
I agree. I
Because we've
agree.
talked about this before. If you're going to be married for a long time, 50, 60 years, which is the goal, you would hope when you get married, or even if you don't get married and you are in a long-term relationship, there comes a
Yeah.
point where the looks are going to change. It's inevitable. Yours don't, but most people age. And they start to get older. You still look like you're in 20, but they're they might get gray hair, and then you can only keep up with stuff so much. Where at some point it's going to become about really loving this person, liking being with them,
Right,
having a
because
good
guess
energy
what?
and
The
a
looks
spiritual love.
fade. The looks fade,
Yeah,
right? Buddha said, dropping some love real quick. Thank you, Buddha. I appreciate you for coming in, sweetie. And thank you for always being the best moderator. Remind everybody to like and subscribe. You know what? Yeah, I completely agree. It's like I think it should be spiritual because I'm a spiritual person, but looks do matter. They really
right.
do. They shouldn't, but they do. And here's the thing, they matter on both ends because people can fall in, like you just said, people can fall in love with a pretty face, whether it be man or woman, and then get to know that person and find out they're a complete jerk. Or they can, just like Doug and Jamie on Married at First Sight, Jamie was almost barfing and at the altar and crying, and she did not want to be married to Doug. They turned out to be one of the oldest couples and now have two children.
And there was
So
another couple I
she was
always
not
talk about
attracted to him and
too.
it turned around. Go ahead.
Remember, I always forget their names, and you always remind me. But the girl that was kind of, she saw him on social media ahead of time and said that he wasn't her type.
Oh,
And
Miles and Karen.
yes, why do
Yep.
I never remember their names? I always
From
remember
Married at
Jamie and
First
Doug.
Sight. Yeah, Married at
Yeah,
First Sight, Miles and Karen, same thing. She wanted to prejudge. And the same thing is true for this season's Justin and Alexis. She ghosted him. They actually met on social media first and she ghosted him and ended up at the altar with him, you
but
know?
now on the other hand, remember, in certain situations like this season, Mitch
Uh-huh.
was not really attracted to her. And even though he ended up liking her as a person and respecting her and loving everything that she, like how
She
he
represented,
treated him,
right.
he wasn't able to get past that because that just wasn't his person. So it's
She
like
was in
it's
a
hard
friend
to
zone.
say
She's in a friend
what
zone.
was that like. Is it that they're not attracted to each other physically, or is it just that they're not each other's person sometimes, like
Well, and you know what? Mitch went back and forth with it. He drove me crazy this season because he can't make up his mind whether he's into Kristen or not. One minute he's saying he's extremely attracted to her, the next minute he's saying he's not. You know what it is? He's got this idea of what his perfect woman is. And Kristen, honestly, I think Kristen is his person. I'll be honest with you. And he's in denial. I think Mitch is afraid to commit and give his full self to Kristen because I think he knows she's his person too. There's a little few things that he wants different about her, but I really feel like he thinks she's his person and he's running like a bat out of hell away from it, you
but
know?
he's never going to be able to give her the security that she needs because of that whatever's missing. I really do believe they can be good friends, but
I
I
don't,
don't
you know
know.
what? I don't
Maybe
know. I
years
don't
from
know if I
now they can get
agree.
together.
Yeah, probably years from now. But I think they could. I don't know why. I have a feeling. And okay, so you heard it here first. I'm gonna put myself out there. I think that somehow, some way, Mitch and Kristen are gonna end up together. I think Mitch is gonna realize, you know what? What the hell am I doing? Kristen was actually my person. She understood me. I was attracted to her. And Kristen, you saw on the tell all last night, she called herself out. She said, "Yeah, I speak, what did she say? I enunciate way too much because that was irritating me. She would get on there and she'd be like, thank you. And, she would say things and it sounded like she was being snippy. Well, if she kind of goes into herself a little bit, changes a couple of those things, and Mitch the same thing, I really think they might end up hooking back up.
I feel like Mitch was looking for someone who and then he mentioned to her sister too that he didn't like the fact that she wore makeup. I feel like he's looking for more of this like beach type figure that he was, and maybe like an environmentalist like him a
He
little bit
wants a
more.
surfer chick. He wants a
Yeah.
straight up, maybe tomboy surfer chick,
Yeah, I think that's more what
which
he's
is
looking
me,
for.
but I'm gay.
Most tomboy surfer chicks are,
And
right?
married.
No. But
Happily.
sorry, Mitch, off the table, right? But you can come hang out on the live stream, and
There you go.
I can then. I don't think he'd want to come on my stream because I don't like the fact that he's so environmentally
And not a vegan,
conscious
right?
and not vegan, because that is a whole nother story,
They
because
go
that's
hand
a
in
big
hand.
problem for the environment. But I was like, I don't think he'd like me very much. I like the
Dude,
beach.
that's a nice topic, Jen.
Yes, I was thinking that. I think this Monday we're gonna do we could do both, but I was thinking we're doing child nutrition because I have
Hmm.
the guests coming on, but then I love that topic for next week.
Environmental vegan versus the environmentalists. Are they the same thing? That type of deal.
Yeah.
Are they
That's a
one and the same? I'm gonna make a note of it.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I think that, we're just I think talking about this show, it's not even a review of the show, but it definitely like got us thinking about that. I love the topic you came up with today because we were talking about that when the show started, like
Yeah.
is it even possible? And I feel like there's so many gray areas with it that I have seen people who have, you know, pretty much look like opposite attract, or someone they wouldn't be attracted to, that have fallen in love, that have gotten to know each other on both on these shows and in real life, when you see a couple that's like, wow, I didn't put you two together. um, and then you can look at it the other way too, that we are superficial whether we know it or not. I mean, look at like TV and things like that. Look
Yeah.
at the people that end up there, because people know that people like to look at people who look good, and it
Oh
gives a
yeah.
false sense of satisfaction, or a false sense of it makes people strive for something that's not even realistic sometimes, because they think everybody's supposed to look one way. I get that too, but looks are important. Like, it's been known and tested in like politics and things, like
Mm-hmm.
people that get the most votes are the nicer looking. Like, we've all heard that before,
Mm-hmm.
because they used to not even show the candidates. I remember hearing like a long time ago, because it wasn't like televised and things.
Yeah.
And I feel like it was the guy that possibly was in the wheelchair one, and then when he ran again.
Talking about Roosevelt.
Yeah, something to do with
Yeah.
that. I'm mixing the story up a little bit with something else, but it had to do with that looks matter, basically. I've seen studies of it. And so when it comes to love, obviously there's so many different coordinates to put together. Like, when it comes to who's supposed to be together, but you can match two people up perfectly according to on paper, and we've seen that on Married at First Sight, and they get around each other, and they just you can tell they just something about the other person rubs them the wrong way, and they
Throws
can't
them
get past.
off. Absolutely throws them off. And you know what? It's so funny because speaking of Married at First Sight on this season, look at Nate and Stasha. You got two people who look like they belong on the cover of beauty magazines, but he looks like he should be on the cover of, you know, with GQ, and she looks like she should be on Vogue or something. And they matched them up, and it actually worked out. It turns out that even with their personalities, they were both go-getters. They were both extremely attractive and attracted to each other. So it worked in their favor. I was like, you know what? I was like, listen, both of them are gorgeous. And we know they're going to be attracted to each other physically. But what happens if she's an extreme bitch or he's nerdy, or what
I
happens if they get, and they lucked out because they actually really do work personality wise, goal wise, everything.
definitely. And to bounce off
They're a
what you're
power
saying,
couple.
though, people will be a little more lenient at, like, basically they'll run with something if they don't like the way she looks and she's being a little bit of a, you know what? Yeah, that could be a major issue. But if she's cute, I've
Yeah,
noticed they will put up with it a little bit more and try to like work on it and get past it, especially on these shows. And now it might not end up being, the thing that is going to keep them together, but I do know they try a little harder. But if it's somebody they don't like and there's one little thing they don't like about them, or they don't like their looks, you can tell how they just go completely like, I'm disconnected, I'm cut off from this. So I think looks are important in that way too. It helps them stay a
I
little more
I agree.
longer.
I agree, and I agree. Me personally, I totally buy into Rap God Reloaded's opinion as well. That it should be a spirit. Man, if everybody went off of the spirit of the person, we would have a lot more happy relationships. If people could look past what the eye sees, because really and truthfully, somebody like me who is legally blind, if I look straight at some person with my central vision being the way it is, I wouldn't see what they look like. I'd have to kind of, adjust my eyes a little bit to be able to, see what they look like. So, and then even still, details would be missing.
I
But
think
look at
that's
Stevie
great in
Wonder.
a way to make you are really then delving into people's spirits, and you don't have that superficial reaction that people who could see full on will have. So really you are
It's
able
a good
to get to
thing.
know people spiritually first before you make that judgment, that are not that you would judge them based on look, but that your brain would automatically do because we're human. You know what I mean? We
Yeah. You
judge
know
books
something
by the
too?
cover.
I'm going to say something here that is kind of on this topic, but kind of broadens it as well. When you become a blind person, or your eyesight is altered in a way that you are no longer considered normal and you can't function as you once did, like, I can do a lot, don't get me wrong, but there are some things that I'm incapable of doing now. And that does change you, because I remember one time you and I took a lunch break. We were doing deliveries. We took a lunch break and we went by this lake and we ate lunch. And there was some kind of bug flying around. You remember that? It was a long time ago. And it was like some type of huge bug. And you were scared shitless, but I didn't
Yes.
see it. I
It was
did
in the
not.
back window of the car, and I stopped the car at the red light, got out of the car, opened all the doors.
And I didn't see it. So no fear was there.
Right. And the
Isn't
bug
that
wasn't
wild?
coming after us, but that was it.
I had
That
no fear because I didn't see what it looked like. Now,
I was like, "You're lucky."
if I saw what it looked like, that might have been a different situation. But because I didn't see it, I was able to remain calm and just go at face value. Okay, I'll get out of the car because you're telling me to. I trust your judgment on it. But I had no fear whatsoever of this bug because I couldn't see it.
Right.
And you'd be surprised how that changes life. Like, we're talking about a feeling of fear, which is an emotion that most people deal with a lot.
Yeah.
And you can look at it in that instance, and then you can look at it when it comes to things like love. If you don't see somebody, but they are doing things for you that fulfill you spiritually, that makes you feel whole as a person above and beyond how whole you feel on your own, they add to your wholeness. That is somebody that you would really think is your person. And then, if you end up seeing them and they turn out to be a troll, you know, what do you do there? Do you find your way out of the relationship, or do you rise above the superficiality and say, hey, wait a minute, but this person has done this and done that and made me feel this way and gives of themselves. Am I really going to walk away from this because I don't like the way they look? You
You know,
know?
I was gonna say too, back in, before internet and social media, not that people don't have pictures on social media, however, we all know that we may be putting our best picture on our profile, not the one that might be even what we might look like today or this month. It might be a
Right,
picture,
right.
people can, because more people meet online now, and when dating sites became popular and the social media, obviously a lot of people are going and getting together on social media. Or remember, like back in the day, people might say, hey, I'm going to hook you up with my friend on a quote unquote blind date, and you could talk on the phone to the person first and they think you're a perfect match. But my question is, did that add to where people got more spiritually connected so they were able to overlook the looks? Because hey, we've been talking for months and I'm really into this person, we're like a perfect match. Does that make them then, like you said, when they meet them and see them in person, like, oh yeah, that was a picture from the beach when I was like 10 years younger, that you have? Or in the case of another show you reviewed the other night, Jenny and Submit, he sent a model picture to her, but she still ended up
Right.
with his normal, because once she got to know him, she was like,
Well,
yeah, you seem like you're
even when
great.
she saw what he looked like, she still thought he was more attractive than the model that he sent, because
That
he,
was the
I guess, was her
person.
type. Yeah.
Yeah, and maybe she was like, "Okay, this was way out of my league. He's a little more in it," because I'm like 30 years older than him. This guy's nice looking, but for me, but not like supermodel that I think is catfishing me.
Dude,
Um,
that is another metaphor for love being blind. He
mhm,
fell in love with a woman who is 30 years older than him and looks like, she could possibly be his mom, and well, she doesn't because she's blonde and all that, but besides the obvious,
mhm.
looks old enough to be his mother, but yet he doesn't see that. He sees his person. So in that way, love is blind, because when you get into somebody, you can get to know them. And you know, I
This
remember that movie.
conversation's got me thinking of a whole new question that this brings up. Is attraction even about looks? Because when you connect with somebody, it might not be the look. Is it the vibe and the feeling that's happening when you're next to them?
Well, that's what we're talking about.
Hmm.
That is actually what we're talking about. Should it be, is love blind? That's exactly what that question is asking.
But I was
Can
thinking of it more, the person's behind a shield or you've never seen them. Now I'm thinking, even if two people are standing right in front of each other, they might be attracted to each other physically, but will they be able to fall, and will they
Well,
be able
that
to make
you're
love, get
you're
in
still
love?
proving my point, because what you're doing is you're talking about it metaphorically, and
Hmm.
that's what it is. It's like you have to be with somebody, but realize that, hey, this person is much more than what they look like. They could
Yeah.
be gorgeous but could be an idiot. But some people also prejudge the other way. Some people see somebody that looks like they should be on the cover of a magazine and will automatically not want to be with that person because they think they're either a player or they're full of themselves and they're narcissistic. And a lot of times, those people end up by themselves because they don't have somebody that trusts them, that trusts the fact that they're actually somebody who's really humble. They just happen to look like this, but that's not them at all. It can happen the other way too. So it's like, do you judge somebody because they're extremely attractive, thinking that, hey, you know what, Rap got reloaded? He's a Jello Ball fan, right? Let's take Jello Ball for instance. Okay, Jello Ball is extremely attractive for as far as men go, right? What people would consider extremely attractive. But if you watch videos of Jello, because all of us aren't lucky enough to be ball facts where we can actually hang out with them. Shout out to ball facts. But if you actually look at some of the, okay, that's a good example. Ball facts intimately lets us in on who Jello really is. When he makes those videos, and you can, like the video that time when he was just kind of chilling with him, and Jello's just standing there bouncing the ball, talking about how he used to dunk when he was 15. Jello did not come off as this superficial, I'm full of myself. He is extremely shy. If you look at him and you see how people compliment him, Jello is exactly opposite of that. He's a jock who happens to be as nice looking as any of the models out there, but that's not who he is. He's a basketball player. He's not a guy who wants to be flaunting what he looks like. That makes, you could tell that he's uncomfortable when people just focus on how good he looks. Look at the time they went overseas and the one chick supposed to be interviewing him started flirting with him. Do you have a girlfriend? You could tell that made him extremely uncomfortable. He's like, hey, listen, I'm here to play ball. He doesn't look at his looks like that. He's not a type of person who is a player. He's just a guy who likes to play basketball. And if he, don't get me wrong, though. I mean, the chicks he dates are dime pieces, but he does not
hinder
carry himself that way.
Like that people take him seriously about his basketball because of his looks, or do you feel like,
hey, guess what? I think that might be part of it. I think that maybe one of the reasons he's hindered or used, let's put it realistically. I think one of the reasons he is pimped out is because of his looks and how much he attracts a female audience. The NBA is not stupid. North Carolina is not stupid. They're using this boy for his appearance and for his media following because of how attractive he is and how he attracts these women. They don't put him on the court enough, and let him hone his skills the way that they should. When they put him out on the court, it's simply to give people a taste of Jello. Look at him. Here he is. Look how pretty. Yeah, that's good. And look how pretty he is. Don't you like him? Okay, Jello, come sit down. That's bullshit. That's let him do what he came there to do. He's not there to be a trophy. He's there to play basketball. Let this boy hone his skills on the court, and you'll see that you've got a lot much more than a pretty face there. You've got somebody that can actually help the team win some fucking games.
Definitely. He could be a Jello shooter for you.
Yeah. Man, you can have all kind of stuff with his Jello shooter.
Marketing.
Oh, you got me thinking of a comedy video to make. Turn him into a Jello cup. But that's another, that's another way people prejudge based on what somebody looks like, and it's ridiculous. It can go the other way. Look at Ed. Look at Ed on
Single Life.
Single Life, Liz, when you initially saw them hook up, or when you initially saw him, it's like, what the hell's this guy doing on this show? He looks like a little troll leprechaun. Who cares, right? It should be. Who am I to judge him? And I'm not judging him. I'm just stating the obvious.
He's not the normal person that we see on these shows. But they try, I think, to put, at least reality TV used to try to put regular, common, people that you would see out and about, not these hot movie star model looking people. Over time, these shows have gone the other way, and maybe they're trying to, rotate back to that a little bit, because that's not, people aren't interested now. They're interested in odd couples, it seems like. More
and
so,
look what happened with them. Liz is now head over heels with a guy when she first looked at him, thought he was a woman and was not attracted to him in any way, shape, or form. Like, okay, this guy likes me, whatever. All right, you know what? Fuck it. I'll go out with you. She went on a pity date with him because she talked to him for a few minutes and realized, okay, he's got a kind of a cool personality. I'll give him the time of day, and ended up falling for him. Ed. You know what I'm saying?
To my point, though, and look what's happening with him. He's taken her for granted over time and is ready for the next new thing and telling her she's fat and everything.
And
and
he's
he's
got her.
like
And look
that.
how he worshiped her before they hooked up. There's no way I'm going to get a girl like that. And when she gave him the time of day, now look how he's treating her.
And I don't like to talk about people in, oh, men do this, women do this, but is it that masculine, more masculine part of his personality and others that we've seen on this show that the man can't get past it or starts to take that for granted, even if they like their looks at first, and the woman can get past it. She didn't like his look at first. Went out with him, like you said, just to give him the time of day because he's a nice guy. He's been after me. He seems like, I'll hang out with him. And then, like you said, she was able to get past the look and
Mm-hmm.
end up falling in love with him spiritually or, emotionally. And now he's, I mean, not that he's not in love with her, but he is definitely not
No,
growing. He
no,
seems to be going the other way.
she's definitely more into him. Hey, I got one for you.
Okay.
The truth about cats and dogs.
Mm. Which nowadays with social media would never happen.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you've ever seen that movie, comment and let us know. That was definitely
That
one
was the
that was exactly
epitome.
what this is about.
Yeah. Okay. He falls in love with a radio DJ. This is a guy, a relatively attractive guy, British accent, and he falls in love with the voice of a woman and her personality that has come through the radio, who is a veterinarian and is played by Janine Garofalo. And Janine Garofalo, he actually ends up falling for her, just who she is on the radio, how she comes across. And he asks her out on a date and she ghosts him. But then he shows up at the studio and she's got this really gorgeous neighbor played by Uma Thurman who happens to be visiting her in the studio at that moment and says, okay, when this guy comes in, I want you to pretend that you're me. Well, why do you want me to do that? I don't even know him, but just, you don't have to do it just, but this one time, just pretend
Basically
you're
was
me.
scared and embarrassed that he wasn't gonna like her and wanted
Because she looked average or she didn't look like a model. You know what I mean? She didn't look like somebody that he would be with. She didn't have the confidence in herself to realize that this guy might have been a little bit deeper than that. And she throws Uma Thurman at him and he walks in and you realize, wow, okay, not only is she the person that I fell in love with, her personality, she's this person, but she's also happens to be gorgeous. So he thinks it's a win-win and goes through the movie and realizes pretty quickly on that Uma Thurman is a ditz. And that damn, she's not who I thought she was. He fell in love with the spirit of her through the air. You know what I mean? Through the
yeah.
airwaves, the sound of her voice, how she handled herself in situations with other callers, and he realized he was into her. And when he saw Uma Thurman and found out, okay, that's her. Okay, cool, great. She looks great too. But then realized, okay, I'm not really, And I remember the one scene where he said, "Can you talk to me in that radio voice?"
Right.
When
It's
when
like
when he called Janine Garofalo's character because Uma Thurman gave him the number because she didn't want to hook up with him, and he talks to Janine Garofalo and says, "Can you talk to me in that radio voice?" Because she was trying to sound like Uma Thurman, now that he had met her. And
remember when he bought her they had some conversation about a book and she comes back to Janine Garofalo and was like, "He bought us a book." You know,
right,
us
right.
a book. She didn't know what the
And
heck the book
Janine
was.
didn't
But
know what
that
the book was about. And Janine Garofalo grabbed it and like, oh my God, the Scarlet Letter or whatever. Um, Cyrano de Bergerac's letters to somebody, you know what I mean? And she went nuts. It was a gift that she was really into, and he knew that she would like that, not by how she looked, but by how he got her from her personality and her spirit, that she would like that. He knew her, not her face.
that's a
We are
good
different than our face.
thing for people who are watching the replay of this, because I know a lot of people are going to catch this one because it's such a great topic. Comment a movie or a situation that you've known, of that proves this point that love is blind, because
That's a
I
good
feel like
thing.
now that I'm trying to think about it, they have put a lot of movies out there.
Oh
Hi,
yeah.
Shonda. Oh, and Renee Revelinsky, welcome.
Hey, Renee, how are you?
Everybody's joining in. Thanks for
Hey,
coming.
Shonda.
Good to see you
Let's
ladies
see.
here. So we were talking about right. So go ahead. I'll let you finish that since
Okay.
you brought that point up about the book.
Shonda, I
Okay.
just gave you a wrench, sweetheart. I really appreciate your support and your loyalty, and you've come in here pretty consistently. And I really believe once the channel grows, I'm gonna, need more moderators. So I just gave you a wrench, baby girl. Thank you. But yeah, I really believe that there's no way, like with that movie. At the end, he gets pissed because he realizes that Janine Garofalo is actually the woman that he fell in love with. And she says, I didn't think that you would like how I looked. And he's like, okay, well, because you lied, now we'll never know. But then he realized he was unhappy without her. Uma Thurman wasn't who he wanted. And he said, the hell with it. I don't care. And he made a beautiful statement in that movie. That was a good line. He said, "You know how someone, once you know, if you know them, can become the most, or someone you wouldn't have even looked at twice or wouldn't have even noticed, if you love them, can become the most beautiful thing you've ever seen."
Mhm.
And she started crying because she's like, why the hell didn't I tell this guy who I was? Because I see here with him making that statement that he's not as superficial as I thought he was going to be. And I may have ruined this because I didn't have the confidence in myself, you
But the
know?
question I will bring up is, would he, if he had just met her on the street or in a bar or ran into her at the grocery store
No,
or
he
had
wouldn't
somebody
have.
hook them up,
I'm going
and
to
would
answer
he have
that right
gotten past
now.
it?
Nope, he wouldn't have. And he said it in the statement, someone that you would never have even noticed. And the funny thing is, it actually happened in the movie. If you really watch it, he was getting along with her in a way which, to me, there's no freaking way you can't tell me you don't know that's her. Listen to her voice, dummy. It's like you can't tell that's her. You can hear her voice. That's one of
The
the things you're
radio didn't
attracted to
distort
about
her
her.
that much, but I see where they were going with it. It was cute.
Right. He hung out with her for an entire day and did not realize that this was the woman he was madly in love with because he didn't notice her. He didn't get past her look. And it's like, okay, there's no way I'm not attracted to her, but I'm going to hang out with her. She's a friend of the woman I'm into. I'm going to hang out with her and realize, he's putting a little coat around her and they're watching a sunset. And he's like, I'm having a wonderful time with you, and he started looking at her differently. You could see the look in his eye. He started looking at her like, wow, I'm seeing you different. You could tell he was seeing her differently. And then she got scared and kind of walked off and like, okay, it's cool. I'm gonna go ahead home. I'll return your jacket later. And he realized at the end of the movie, and if you haven't seen the movie, I won't spoil the ending, but it's definitely a cool movie. You should check it out. Maybe I'll do movie reviews.
Right, that's a good idea too, because you are so
Because I'm a
knowledgeable
movie
about
buff,
movies.
dude. I'm a movie buff. I love movies. Um, I'm sitting here thinking about serendipity, but serendipity is not quite the same thing, because these people did meet, but it was a thing of where they met, they're attracted, and there was a connection there, but then they separated. So that
Yeah,
I'm thinking, is there a love is blind thing in there? But not really. Although you could argue the point that almost immediately they knew they were meant for each other, even
and
though
then
they
it's
didn't
like,
really know each
was
other.
it, physical, or was it that, thing that we're
Was it
talking about, the
who they
energy?
were? Right. And
Because
that's
two
funny.
magnets, doesn't matter what they're stuck on, it's gonna attract to each
They're going
other
to come
if they're in the
together.
right. Yep, that's pretty. That's a deep analogy of it, right?
Yeah. You could say that about us where we worked at Card Checks. And I told this story a few days back. We were the only women in the place. The place was full of men because it was a job
Extended
that
warranty.
the extended warranties. It had to do with cars, and not many women applied there. And I was the only girl. And then Jen comes in, and then the only two women in the place end up being attracted to each other. All the men felt like pure shit. I felt bad for them because they're like, how the hell did the two chicks in here end up together and neither one of us got to them? What the hell? Well, first of all, it has to do with who we are on the inside. You're looking at the fact that we're both women and we both have the same. You're not looking at the spiritual connection that was happening because it's intangible. You can't see it. That's ultimately why love is blind, because it actually happens whether you want it to or not based on what a person looks like.
Right, because look at the shows like we have seen too, on, or like just look at somebody who might only date nice looking people. It's not like they are attracted and want to spend their whole life with every single nice looking person. Look at
Right.
what is it, Bachelorette and Bachelor, all those people they bring on there are fairly nice looking for the most
Mm-hmm.
part,
Mm-hmm.
and they don't bring people on, you know what I mean? They don't put a very nice variety that really plays on the an analogy of what the world looks like if you were to
Right.
just meet a bunch of people. They handpick those people to look like models and things, and the Bachelor. So not everybody's attracted to them, even though they have nice looks. So that also kind of proves the point that they
Love
don't
is
always just pick
blind.
the
I'm
nicest
I'm
looking
bought
person.
in. I'm bought in. Cause it's like once you get to know them, if they're gorgeous, you may find you hate them or you love them because wow, they even have a terrific spirit and personality. Or oh my God, this person's a troll, but you start hanging out with them and you start realizing you like their conversation. And you start realizing that wow, they're really generous and they really take good care of my heart and my feelings. So it's like, okay, I don't care what this person looks like. I love them.
No offense
So
to the
it's like
little things that
love
go
is
on top of
blind.
pencils. When you keep
Love
saying
is
troll, it
truly
reminds me of
blind.
the little things with the like pink and hair. Remember those you used to get on top of pencil when you were in school?
Yeah.
Trolls.
Love is blind. But here's the thing, are
Yeah,
people big enough to live that truth? No, a lot of people are not. A lot of people are like, okay, I really am into you, but because you look a certain way, I'm not going to allow myself to indulge.
and then on the other hand, people that meet online or meet without knowing exactly what each other looks like can get past it. And then there are people that like you said, will tend to look past it a little bit, but it has to do, it does
With the
matter
person.
because it matters to get you in the door, to get that initial, to get you talking, if like he said, if he would have never noticed Janine Garofalo had she not had this radio show and they started talking. So
That's why I love this right here. That's why I love this concept. I love the idea of it. And once the people actually get to know each other, they may find, okay, remember what was it? Was it last season? No, I think it might have been. Yeah, I think it was season 2. There was a guy who got to know a girl and proposed to her, and then revealed once they started hanging out that he was bisexual and did not tell her in the pods. That's a huge factor, you know. With this show here, I like the idea of it, but you have to be careful because if people withhold information and don't tell you until you've already committed to them, thank God they didn't already make them get married like they do on Married at First Sight. Why would you withhold the fact that you're bisexual?
yeah,
That's a
that's
huge
terrible.
part of who you are. And if
Yeah.
she's affected by that, then now he made her look like the bad guy because she wants to walk away. No, you're the bad guy because you weren't completely upfront with her.
Yeah, that's kind of an important thing to tell somebody you're going to spend time with and get married to and date.
And then he
Um
argued with her, oh, well, I didn't know you enough, so I didn't feel, well, hey, no, no, that's no excuse. That's what these pods are for. You have
that's
to
what
lay
it's
it
for,
all
to
on the
get to know
line.
that stuff.
Right.
And but we have also seen it alternatively where the um the guy last season, I believe we were talking about him the other day. He's like the doctor, and he met the girl, and that was like his person. When they were talking, like culturally they were the same, their family values were the same, they want to have kids the same. And then when he saw her, it didn't look like it was his person, and that didn't work out. But I also wasn't convinced that he wasn't ready to get married, period, and that he was on here just for fame. So, I mean, it can go that way too if the person can't get past it still when they see the person, if they're in a certain stage of their life. Do you feel like people that are like older to figure that out and are more open to
Oh
uh
yeah, because looks at that point are diminishing, and older people are hoping that looks don't matter at that point because their looks fade. See, this is ultimately why you need to realize that hey, if I can get myself in a place where it's a bonus if I'm attracted to what this person looks like because looks ultimately end up fading. As young as you say I look now, hey, listen, in 20 years, that's going to be gone. You know
Chandra
what I
said a
mean?
good point.
Huh?
Mhm.
Yeah,
She
that's going
said
to be
good point.
gone. You cannot buy in. So, yeah, older people really get that because they're living it.
But I still don't know that it can help some people. Some people just, I feel like, are more superficial and won't be able to get past it. And
Oh,
then the
yeah.
other point is, I think even if they are superficial, there is something more there than to attraction than the looks, which I don't know if it's making it blind or but it sounds to me like that's what I'm coming up like we are with this whole conclusion. I keep getting back to that. Even if you're attracted to somebody, I mean, like their looks, it doesn't mean you're necessarily attracted or want to spend time with them once you get to know their
Right. It goes
spirit.
the other
So
way. Hey, I
it
got another one for you.
mhm.
Prince Harry
Right? Yep. That is
married a black woman, okay? The prince, freaking royal family, went outside of his race. That is unprecedented. Love was blind in that situation. He did not care that her skin tone was a couple of shades, not much, but a couple of shades darker because he loved her as a person. He got to know her, and all of a sudden, that royal title didn't mean jack. This was the woman that I find that I am loving. My heart takes precedence here. I give Harry kudos for having the guts to stand up to the establishment and go with the woman that he loves and denounce the throne. He wasn't going to get it anyway. But, hey, that shows you the type of person that he is.
exactly. And that he is the type of person that did not let anything stand in the way of his love. And it doesn't mean that
I wish he was king. Because
yeah,
he's the type, we need leaders like that in this world who don't look at someone's looks, who aren't superficial. As it stands, Prince Charles is probably going to be dead in the next 10, 15 years. And um, Philip is going to take up. It's Philip, right? Wait a minute. Who am I thinking about? Is his name Philip? William. William is going to be king in the next 20 years, no doubt. Okay, and then his son is going to take over from there, but he's not before he's dead. He's going to be there for a while, because he's relatively young. He's in his 40s,
mhm.
but he's going to be king. Okay, because Charles is already in
Yeah,
like
you're
his
more into that
70s.
royal family dynamic than I am. I don't know all the names.
Yeah, like 20 years tops, I give him. If he makes it 20 years, he'll be in his mid 90s, like the Queen was when she died. So even if he goes another 20, that's only going to put Prince William in his 60s, which is still relatively young. So William, in our lifetime, if we lived it up, is going to be king. You know, he is not like Harry. He went with the establishment. Why couldn't I? Oh man, I wish they could have traded places because the person that Harry is, he should be the type of king that they have. Not saying that Prince William is prejudiced or anything like that. I'm not judging,
Well,
but
and I don't think that if somebody, does want to, it sometimes people might really be attracted to somebody who looks just like them or is their same nationality
true.
or whatever the case is, but the
I tell you
in
what, though,
the case where you're
I
giving
don't see.
themselves away from somebody and or only selecting people and not, or aren't able to get
Dude,
past
you mean you think that William wasn't attracted to a black chick or two? Probably, but there's no way in hell he would have
right,
done what
that's
Harry
where he's
did.
gone that's where it would be wrong if he's not exploring it. And he
Eh,
can't get past his cultural, values.
Well,
That's like the
I didn't
same.
say it was wrong because if I'm saying it's wrong, I'm judging. So
No, I'm
I
saying it's wrong not to explore just because someone's not just like you. In
yeah,
my
yeah, I
opinion,
get you.
if
I
you
get
were to
you.
cut somebody off, or if somebody was trying to speak to him and he was, no,
Look,
sorry, I can't.
I'm being a stickler because I've really internalized that book, The Power of Now, and I've learned so much from it. I've really started to watch my vocabulary.
Hmm.
Like when I say things are right or wrong or good or bad, I realize
Yeah,
that it's a matter of my opinion. So I try not to say it anymore. You
and
know
that's
what
fine.
I mean?
I always speak in I messages. You're
Yeah.
exactly right because it is about what we think and not
Yeah.
about how others should think or feel for sure. And that helps, like we were talking in another stream, in arguments, to say what you're thinking, not, hey, you did this, so you're like this, or you always do this. It's like, hey, when you said this to me, it made me feel insecure, or and identifying that true feeling
Yeah.
allows you not to project on somebody, because now you're just putting somebody down for the way that they made you feel when they might not have even meant to make you feel that way. So
Right,
you're
right.
right. You can't say that people are wrong for doing what they feel is right for them.
Yeah, yeah, that's it's so crazy. And speaking of empathy, you're extremely good at that. I always say that. I always give you kudos for that because you're really good at putting yourself in the other person's place. You know what I mean? And trying to see things from their point of view, which makes you a very good manager. Where you work because it's those employees. And here's the thing where we're talking back to Love is Blind. I'll tell you what, the pandemic has really changed this world because people are so disconnected. There are so many jobs now that you don't see who you're working with because they're
Right.
from
I don't
home.
know what anybody really that I work with, unless there's a select few that I've been able
You've never met
to
them.
become friends with on social media over time. Other than that, I see them typing and that's it. And their
That's
name,
it.
just the last name and what they're
That's it.
typing.
But
But
I've
I have,
watched these people fall in love with you and really embrace who you are as a person. And that's because that's what you give off. Your spirit is so strong that you are able to transcend um, barriers, like not being in a room with somebody but still getting them to like you.
you
That's
too.
pretty
That's why
powerful.
you're good at what you do here, because you let people know you care. You don't have to, like, you know, even say it by telling them your personal thoughts and story. You present that compassion that you're doing this because you love it and you care and you want to bring people together and motivate them and
I'm
have
putting my
interesting
heart and
discussions.
soul into this channel. I've said so many personal things about myself on this channel. I've made a commitment that I'm gutting myself on this channel. This channel is me. And if you rock with me and you like the way that I come off, and again, we're judging because it's a matter of opinion. But I want the people whose opinion is, hey, she's cool as shit. I think I'm gonna listen to her. You know what I mean? Because those are the people that I want to interact with. I also, however, welcome those that say, you know what, you're full of shit. I don't believe any of that.
I
You
mean, I
know?
like hearing sometimes a differing opinion. It might make us
Yeah.
think, and then we can then discuss why I'm
Why they
right.
feel
I'm
that
just
way.
kidding. Get it? I just wanted to say that. I always have to
I
throw a
know.
joke in.
That's she always lightens the moment because I can be really intense and deep. And I love that's one of the reasons we all set each other because Jen will take that moment and go whoop, lighten it right back up, and we end up giggling. So you need that because you cannot take yourself too seriously because at the end of the day, we're all going to only be here for 5 minutes anyway. So you can't take one thing so seriously that it becomes your whole thing, because it's going to be gone just like you are at some point. Morbid, yes. But then again, I blame it on the PTSD. Blame it on the PTSD. Which I do these streams because they help me to heal. They help me to. Prince said, "We're here to get through this thing called life." Well, it helps me get through this thing called freaking life to do
You
these
have
streams in the afternoon.
literally helped me with that though in healing your PTSD because I literally I think subconsciously, whether I knew it or not, was starting to get in touch with the reality that I'm going over the half point here where I'm probably going to live. And I had a lot of anxiety that started both on like worrying about my family getting older and worried about health things with with other with them and worried about my own health trying to make sure that I'm healthy because everything is, you know what I mean? It's like the world's passing through. And when you kind of let me self
Quickly.
identify and saying, hey, it doesn't matter. We're all going to die at some point. It matters what we do when we're here. And that has helped me kind of start to get back into pursuing the passions that I have and the things that I want to do and that I want to help people and I want to make a positive impact while I'm here instead of worrying about how old I'm getting or
Wow. I'm
help
extremely proud of you, because guess what?
focus on the
Because I
now.
can feel it. I can feel it because we're soulmates. I can feel you let go. I felt that just now. When you said that, I could really feel that your spirit really actually, you didn't just say it, you meant that. You're starting to accept.
Yeah.
And when you can accept, then you start to heal. When you are going through something in life and you are constantly pushing against it and
It's been like
resisting,
at least a year or more that I've been pushing this and without and it's gotten progressively worse without even knowing it, but I feel like
yeah.
I've made major improvements even in the last 2 months just since you've been doing these, really.
Well, you know what? That really makes me feel really good. That makes me feel really good.
So
Because
even
that's
if
what
you
I
just
want to
help
do.
me, everybody else is a bonus, right?
Screw everybody else. I'm your wife. Help me. Don't worry about it.
Just like you all are here in our midday therapy
But
session,
it's
right?
been helping me too, Jen. You know what I mean? To talk about it, to put it in the ether. Don't let stuff fester inside of you. Because
Sometimes
when that
stuff
happens, it rots and
you
it
don't
starts to
even know what
sting
it
from the
is.
inside out. Huh?
I was like, sometimes you don't your things could be happening. Like if you're feeling anxiety, you don't
Yeah.
even know sometimes where it's
Where
coming
it's
from.
coming
And you
from.
helped me to identify that when you said that you were, realized that it was from you having cancer and overcoming it, even though you were, overcame it, that was still
I
playing in your
healed
mind.
physically, but mentally I didn't realize that I still had cancer.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? I had cancer of the mind. And
Wow.
when you have cancer of the mind,
It's
it's a lot harder to chemotherapy that away.
I think with things that go on physically, it's a lot easier to manage and do a quick fix, really, because I feel like logically I had figured out, okay, I know if I put this, and this in my body, that
Hmm.
makes me feel good, that I'm doing the things for my body to give me a higher quality of life to be able to live longer. So that was secure. But the mind is
Hmm.
difficult to fix because you're in it, you're in your
Hmm.
head. How do you get out of your head, and the only way to do it is to really get in the core and identify the true thing that's causing that. It might be manifesting in this or in this or in this,
Hmm. It's
oh,
like
I'm
that picture of those pods down there. Like imagine those pods each being a person, each being the brain of a person. And it's so funny because those people can walk in and out of there. But when you're trapped in that pod and you can't get out, that's what it's like in your mind. So when you are in there, you need to rearrange the furniture to make it comfortable. You feel me?
mhm.
Because other than that, you're going to try to get the hell out of there and there's nowhere you can go.
Exactly. You know, when you try to
So yeah,
catch something, catch a ball, you can't just put your hand up flat, straight, and the ball's going to bounce off. So if
yeah,
you keep trying to
you have to
resist
cup it.
those feelings and not figure out where they're coming from and
Ah,
give
that's
to it,
good.
it's
You
not going
basketball
to work.
player.
You have to feel it, absorb it first, and then it will release. But if you're not going to feel it, you know, that's happening in a lot of stuff I'm seeing about OCD. And I
Hmm.
read a lot about, you know, trying to, like, if you're trying to get on the right vibe or the right thought, and you were talking last week about changing thoughts, you can't take that thought and just try to switch it because it's going to keep coming back in there until you think about where's this thought coming from, what is worrying me, what is really the worry, you know, and
What's the
why
root
am I worried
cause?
about that and where did it come from? And when you started talking about you having that PTSD, actually traced that whole thing back with this extra worry that I've had on me. I remember that
Hmm.
stream when I thought about that and I was like, wow, you know what? I lost my grandmother at 19 and she was this age. She was this particular age. Is that where I'm starting to worry because I know if I'm this age that other people are getting older, you know what I mean, in my life and they're nearing that age and I'm afraid of that. So I'm worrying about everything now
Absolutely,
even more. I'm
absolutely.
worried about my family. I'm worried about my own immortality. And that's manifesting itself in just then worrying about everything because that's in there. And once I realized that, it's not like it goes away, but it made me
You're
then
in that
reflect
pod.
on the power of now and the impact I have on people now and on my own life. It will it will be okay. If something happens, you have to get that feeling and be like, you know what? I will get through something if it happens, but I want to make sure I'm in a good place right now and live every day and
You
you
have
know,
to
let
be
my
that
family know I
glove.
love them.
You
And
have to
that's
be
all you
that
can do.
glove and absorb it,
Hmm.
like the catcher's mitt, you know. And shout out to Chandra. She said she works in mental health, and this and that you know is a true point. But you know, you have to absorb. You know, just like in softball, they teach you to put the softball in the glove, and so that the glove gives with that ball because there's a pocket that's been created there, and you have to absorb. You know, you gave a good analogy just now with the basketball. If you hold your hand flat, it's going to bounce off. And when you know, when you have those weird thoughts or weird feelings, or you start having feelings of anxiety and start focusing on death and immortality, it's like when you take it in and accept the fact that it is a real thing that is going to happen to each one of us and accept it. It's okay to admit that it scares you. It's okay to admit that it sucks, that it's going to happen. But if you accept it, accepting it doesn't mean you like it, but accepting it means that you're allowing yourself to move forward without feelings of anxiety. That's all acceptance means. It doesn't mean you're happy with it. Doesn't
Right.
mean you like it. It just means that you are conceding and that you are moving forward now, knowing this sucky thing is going to happen, but I can only control what I can control. And since that's not one of those things I can control, I am no longer going to burden myself with worrying about it because that burden of worry is aging me and making my quality of life shitty. So, since it's going to happen anyway, I'm still here now. So until it happens, I'll focus on it when it actually happens in that moment. All of these precious moments I'm wasting until that point, I'm losing because I'm not enjoying myself. I'm not actually being alive.
Yeah. I'm like, I was starting to worry so much about the future and what might happen and what might happen tomorrow that my whole entire now was being spent
Was
worrying about
being you
tomorrow,
were
which, like,
cheating yourself. You
who
were cheating
cares then
yourself
if
of
I go
now.
or not? I'm sitting here worried all the time. So, like,
You were
okay, I might as well
cheating
just take a
yourself.
run, you know? Like,
Right.
you're keeping yourself out of the now, like, the power of now, these talks, like, all of that. You can't just have one quick fix when it comes to mental health. It's like so many things all in one that kind of add up to making you feel better, and finally like stuff starting to click, not that it
Yeah.
goes away, but it
And you
starts.
got to keep doing it every day. It's a daily thing. We're all works in progress. Nobody gets it, and even if you get it, you forget it.
Mhm.
So you have
You
to
got to keep working on it.
continuously do it. You have to get. I constantly subliminally heal. You see me every night. I put the AirPods in, and I'm listening to either fasting affirmations or let go or the power of every night without fail. Because the minute I stop, and I mean, I can stop. I'm not a prisoner of it, but it's easier for the negativity to get in there. You got to stay armed. You got to stay on alert and armed with things that help you to accept.
Yes.
Because if you don't, the resistance, your pain body is going to come out there and start resisting shit again. And you're going to feel miserable again. And you're going to be right back in the same negative patterns. It
Yes.
does happen because inadvertently, you're sitting in a world that is bombarding you with that. You
And
have no
our
control over that.
brain, you even mentioned that, and so does Eckhart Tolle in his book. They it our brain, because of how we were
How
brought
we're
up, and
wired.
sometimes
Yeah.
chemically, it and how the media magnifies negativity, and people just naturally want to go to the negative. Like, even if you're, that's why you have to
It's
absorb it.
defensive.
What I realized, because I
It's
used to be
defensive.
like completely like always the first thing I would think of was the positive, and I can still get to it now, but it does get harder the more that you are, you know.
Experiencing negative things in life.
I've read this, if
They
you
add
don't
up.
mind, I read it to you. It's really quick. It's a thing I
Sure.
saw the other day. Negativity is contagious, unhappiness is contagious, fear is contagious, but so is happiness, so is optimism, so is love. Surround
That's
yourself with
weird.
people who bring out the best in you and strive to be a reflection of what you want to receive. And I'm like, that was so beautiful. I was like, I didn't even think I would even bring it up on this stream, but the way that this.
But check it out. What's cool and something that I kind of realized about myself right now is I am really truly healing, because as you were reading that, I was thinking, so is love, so is happiness before you said it. And I'm like, wow, Dawn, did you really go there like on your own? You're
I
getting better, girl.
I said this to somebody the other day, though. I saw another one, that what we were talking about having to absorb things, and knowing that nothing will, nothing is going to be pretty much, things are going to happen, and you're going
Mm-hmm.
to think of negative things, and things in life might in around you be negative, but it's not like those things are not going to happen. But what you're teaching here is how to find peace within yourself, and whatever can get you through, you know and get you in a place like the world is spinning but you're grounded and still. And um Chandra said there's so much stigma around mental health. A lot of people don't want to admit they have issues. I don't think you're right, but
Facts.
without admitting it, at least to themselves, and doing some personal work, they're going to keep resisting it. And I had to realize that too. And things can come up, like you might have not had issues, and maybe your hormones change, like, and now you have more anxiety. Maybe something happens in life, like a life situation, like you said, that starts to resurface from when you were younger. Like, it is such a hidden thing. Like, you say, oh, I have mental health issues. Somebody is thinking something completely different. That might not mean that they have it, but they might wake up every day anxious about their day.
It
They
took
might.
me until getting into my 50s to realize that I suffered with manic depression and PTSD from the cancer, and
Mhm.
I wasn't depressed because of the cancer, because the manic depression thing is something that, even though I had a happy childhood, and, everything was cool, you know what I mean? But there was always some kind of darkness there, always some kind of darkness. And my mind would kind of go to a dark place every now and then. And it was a lot easier as a kid to bounce free of that because I hadn't seen as much in life. There
Mhm.
wasn't as many news stories. I wasn't even watching the news as a kid. So I wasn't inundated. But when you get inundated And as you begin to live longer and actually experience some crappy stuff, Mary Tyler Moore, once again, it applies. She said, you can never learn to be brave if you've only had wonderful things happen to you. You pull negativity out of life experience that you now have that, I got cancer when I was 34. Okay. Up until that point, I saw my aunt die of it, but it didn't really touch me as much as I thought it did until I was faced with it, you know? And even in the moment when I found out about it, and I said this before, I didn't register it. I just accepted it, took it in without even thinking about it. I innately just accepted it and like, okay, how do we move forward? And if I'm not moving forward, is that it? Let me know. I was just ready. I was ready to have my head rammed into a wall at that point. You're going to die. And when he said, no, you're not at that point. We got out everything and you're okay. I do want you to take a couple of months of chemo. Okay. So I was able to move forward. What would have happened had he said that? I don't know, because I'm not who I am now. I don't know that I would have survived it because I hadn't trained myself at that point to accept something, because acceptance is power. I'm going to tell you now, acceptance is power. When you accept, you take away the anxiety. And when the body rids itself of anxiety, it begins to heal inadvertently, and when your mind accepts, it begins to heal inadvertently. You have no control. But when you realize that, you can start to do it on purpose. You can start to fill your mind with things that help you to accept, not change, because you can't change a situation. You see what I'm saying? You can't change the situation. You can't change the fact that something sucks. But if you learn to accept, there is a lot of power in that, because it takes the wind out of the fear. It takes the wind out of the
You can't
sadness.
control others, but you can control how you react.
Exactly.
But
And
sometimes
if
your
you,
mind doesn't want to, react that way, but you can
but
control it.
you can control your mind and control what you can control. Your mind, you can control. Okay, so, and the mind doesn't like that. It doesn't like to be controlled. It likes to do the controlling, and you
Remember in
can't let it do that.
Power of Now, he says, thanks for that thought, pain body, is what he actually relates it to. It's your
Nah,
pain body
that was T. Harv
that's
Eker. He said, "Thanks for sharing."
oh,
I
thanks for
remember
sharing.
that.
Okay, yeah,
Yeah,
that was
yeah.
T.R. Becker. And then I listened to another guy who is like a YouTube channel about anxiety, and he'll be like, you know, he does the similar thing that he talks about if someone's struggling with anxiety or worry, or like true thoughts that they don't want to have, or they're thinking about negative outcomes. And he says, he uses a phrase just similar to that, not thanks for sharing, but it's very similar to that. Like, okay, thank you for that thought, but I'm not going to entertain that right now because that's not true. That's not
Right,
right now, and that's
right.
something that is not a fact. So I'm not going to think about that, because like that, with the worry thing, you're thinking about something that might happen in the future, so you're ruining your time right now with something that might or might not happen.
Right. And
And
you're,
so
it's almost like your mind is a little kid that you have to tap it on the head. No, 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 don't do
and the
that.
more you try to get past it, you know what happens? The more you try to get past it, all of a sudden it wants to creep in again, because it doesn't like that you're fighting those thoughts. It's like, no, I'm supposed to be negative. Hey, Hoop
It,
Jargon. He said, "What's up, Jay? Good to catch you live."
Hey, Hoop, how you doing, sweetie? I was thinking about you recently. And the cool thing is we still kind of look at each other's stuff. So yeah, I see you like some of my stuff and I like some of your stuff. So that's really cool. Well, we'll always be in touch because we're just cool like that. But it's like, and this is right up your alley because Hoop Jargon is somebody that I've never met him, but from all the way over on the East Coast, and this dude is on the West, I get his spirit. He is somebody that accepts. He has mastered, and I don't even know him personally, but for some reason I feel like I know this about him. He is somebody that has learned how to master the art of acceptance, because I watched him totally diffuse a troll that was on his station one day, that was on his channel one day, trying to throw racial slurs and try to make him go into a dark place. And
Mhm.
all he did was keep taking what that guy said and keep absorbing it and keep accepting it. Okay, got you, got you. Anyway, like, and then the most brilliant thing he said on that stream was, "What you are doing is feeding my algorithm." I love that, dude, because he managed to prevail there. It was like, listen, what you're actually doing is helping my channel. You're not hurting me or my channel. You're helping by doing what you're doing. You're so stupid, you don't even know it. You know that you're helping my algorithm. Thank you.
He did
You know?
him in so many ways by putting his algorithm going out was calmness, and so he was like, he was
Right.
trying he was
And
bringing
even
the
if he was
negativity
dealing with
onto it
some
and saw the
animosity,
positive, like dummy.
yeah, even if he
I
was
love
dealing with
that.
some animosity, he still took it in and twisted it around and accepted it. And as quick as the guy was doing it, he was taking it in, feeling pissed off, and then accepting it and rolling on with it. You know what I mean? It's like, nope, you're not gonna get to me. Nope, you're not gonna get to me. You know, and it wasn't a resistance; it was an acceptance, because a resistance would have been him blocking the guy. And then
Mhm.
the guy, all he would have had to do was go create another account and come back on and keep coming back and realize, okay, yeah, I'm winning because I'm getting to you. Blocking him would have been resisting it.
You know
Okay.
what that
Arguing
reminds me
back would have
of?
been resisting it. What?
Something you were talking about earlier when we were talking about absorbing the thought and talking about what Hoop Jargon did on his channel. Like, if somebody's banging on your door and you just don't answer it,
Hmm.
they're going to keep banging on the door. But if you open it or you say, "Hey, you're at the wrong door," it's like, "Okay, I
They're
accept that
knocking on
somebody's
thin
knocking."
air. They can't bang
They go
anymore.
away. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
that's exactly what he did. Like, "Hey, I see you here and I don't
He opened
care."
the door. He let him come in. He said,
Mhm.
"Hey, come on in. Talk your shit. Do what you need to do. Get your rocks off." You know what I mean? Because you are commenting constantly, and that works in my favor. So it was genius. You know, it was really cool.
Go
So
check out Hoop Jargon Media Network for some very insightful conversation. Hoop said it's judo. Take the negativity and reverse it back equally. Definitely.
yes, yes. You know, martial arts is something that trains you, and here's where people get it twisted. Martial arts is not a physical thing, even though that is a byproduct of it. It teaches you how to physically protect yourself, but it also teaches you how to mentally protect yourself more so than the physical. You know, and it's a mental discipline, and people don't get that. You know, you could do a lot worse than to learn martial arts. You know, that's why
Mhm.
it's art. You know, because you're learning how to create a completely different situation from the one that you're in, you know, where you can walk away from it and everybody is okay. You know, a lot of the moves in martial arts are defensive moves, not even offensive moves, you know, because you are stopping somebody from hurting you. You're not trying to inflict pain, you're trying to stop somebody from hurting you. And basically, and you're doing it without necessarily resisting it. You're taking it in, but that person is not able to get to you. And that's exactly, you know, what we're talking about here. The whole Love is Blind thing spun into this because it's a mental thing. Love is a mental thing. It is physical, but it turns into something that's more mental, that's not based on physical appearance, that's not based on somebody having two legs and be able to walk. I saw a guy on TikTok the other day that had no arms and no legs, you know, flip himself around and do one of those things where he, you know, like when I cut my hair and he
Mhm.
changed, and he, you know, he came and he had on a wig and he had on these different colors and he looked really beautiful. But he had no, the initial thing that you see is he has no arms and no legs, and he's flipping himself through the screen. And immediately, once he did the transformation into a different outfit, you no longer noticed the fact that he had no arms and no legs. You just looked at the beauty that he was emitting out of the screen, you
That
know?
is exactly what I was talking about with you the other day with the things that you do with where your eyesight is. You take things and just
Eyesight's overrated.
you don't even see the obstacles in your way, and the fact that you've chose to edit videos and you have to do it and go about it in a different way. You have to go about everything you do in a different way. Like you said, you may have to look off to this way, to the side, or get a lot closer. But the fact that like you don't let that even get in your
That,
way at
and I'm
all.
I'm probably gonna get in trouble for this, but that's my way of telling life, fuck you. You're not gonna stop me, you know? And doing video editing is my way of metaphorically um reversing what's happening.
You don't look at what you can't do, you look at what you can do. And that if we all did that and we all realized that, it would
That's
really
what, when I
empower us.
first
It's
started going through
inspiring.
this, you just said something right on the head. When I first started going blind, that was what I used to tell myself, what you just said. Focus on what you can see.
Hmm.
Because I'm not completely blind, thank God. But focus on what you can see. But then I learned as the years went on, what you can see is not always with your eyes.
Right. And that brings us back to the whole part where we started from, right? Like you were
Right.
talking about earlier, your other things are so much more enhanced based on, you've taken, you've enhanced those other skills based on it's not about what you're losing, you just grow in other areas.
That's it. That's it. It's called acceptance and moving forward. I had to accept the fact that I was legally blind. I couldn't resist it. I couldn't change it. So I had to accept it. I was left no choice but to accept it. So it's like, when your back's against the wall, and this is one of the things I love about human beings, we come up with some good shit. We are way more powerful than we give ourselves credit for. And that's because we only use 20% of our mental capacity. But if we get into that other and start dipping into that other 80% of our true potential, there's no telling where we could go from here. Will we get to see it in our lifetime based on stuff that we've already done with this earth? I don't know, but I'm not going to worry about it. If
We
Armageddon
definitely put a
happens, then
cap
I'll
on
deal with it in
ourselves.
that moment.
Some of us more than others, put this cap on ourselves, but we all do it to a certain extent. Even though we might think, "Oh, I know anything is possible." If you don't literally believe it and absorb that you can do anything you put your mind to, then you may not be able to do it because we only limit ourselves really
That's it.
in most situations, and think about the difference in your life if you had that mentality. And I mean, you may have felt that while you were absorbing it, like, oh, I can't do this, I can't do this. But I literally have been with you every step of the way, and I have never seen such an inspiring story of how someone just took that and just ran with it and has handled it so positively and has went outside of the range of what anyone would do that had that situation come up and do amazing things and are
Thank you.
such an excellent talented creator that it doesn't even it doesn't even play into it.
It's so funny because I don't really associate with that whole new media crew anymore. But there was a kid that is part of that, named Selfmade Sicario, somebody that is one of Rev's moderators, and I really liked him. You know what I mean? And he used to call me the Vision because of the way that I edited videos. And I really embraced that. That was really cool because I was like, wow, that's what I'm using. I'm not using eyesight when I create. I use vision. I see a video in my head before I even pick up the phone or touch an app. I see it already in my head. And now
Hmm.
it's my job to just make that happen. What I'm seeing in my head, when I write a song, when I go to play drums, I hear myself playing before I actually play it, and then it's my job to emulate that at that point. You know, so
And
it's in your brain. It's not anything you're looking at.
even if you are so talented, if you could not even make a video, the fact that you would sit here and have you know healed us. I can't see you right now, you're not having to type or edit anything, but you are legitimately helping so many of us, with these streams as well. So not only can you do editing and things, but you have a very inspiring spirit about you, which has nothing to do with what anyone can or can't do. That's just is.
I think I was meant to go through this blindness so that I could be this person, because I wasn't this person before that happened. And
Yeah.
it's only going to get even more intense, because I feel like what I want to do is help people learn how to master that art of acceptance, learn how to get outside, get out of their own way, basically. I really feel like that's my purpose. It really fulfills me to, it's like teaching that little kid how to ride that bike. You know, when
Mhm.
I can, and just in listening to you on this stream, I can feel that a lot of it has helped you. And I'm the one that sees the side of you that nobody sees, when maybe you might back in and out of the driveway 2 or 3 times or something like that, because you're dealing with an OCD, because you want to make sure that if I pull out right, I'm going to keep the planet from blowing up or whatever, let's just whatever. If you do that, or if I walk out in a room and I flick a light on and off 5 times, if we see somebody in the store that walks in and out of the door, but it doesn't look like it's for any apparent reason, you know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
like, why are they doing that? And it's because we're trapped.
Mhm.
And when you can get to a place where you can take that trappedness, and like those pods, I picture the pod, when you can find your door and walk out of there, which is acceptance, and hey, let's move forward, then you win,
Yeah.
and then you can be in the now. And then whenever death happens, which we all have an innate fear, whenever you deal with it in that moment.
That is a sense of also, and before I go into that, I wanted to thank Hoop Jargon. He said, "I told you, DJ, you are at that top back in the day. At the top back in the day." Thank you. I know
Oh,
that
thank
he
you.
appreciates that. I
I
agree.
appreciate you.
I'm with it. But that's a form of control of trying to control the unknown. The OCD is what I've realized from a lot of, from what we've talked about, and a lot of studying and looking at things on it. If that person walks in and out of the door, you are saying, okay, I'm doing this. It's like, okay, first there is the thought, and then there's a compulsion that goes with it, that if I do this, I can make sure that nothing bad happens. So if they, you flip the light 5 times, walk in and out of the door, they might do some type of some people have where they have to go check every 5 minutes and make sure the oven's off, even though most of us would remember or know. They just have that, thought.
Hmm.
So, um, I think that's the control of, I want to make sure nothing bad happens. But what we realize over time is we can only control our own now. We can't worry about what's going to happen and what might
Right.
happen, because you're ruining this moment right now by having to go back in and out of the door, and or whatever it is that you're worried about. You're sitting here in worry instead of in peace and in happiness. And that's, I think, what people need to get,
You cheat
that
yourself of actually
control
being
you can
alive and living, you know.
And who said, I told you, DJ, you're good at vision back in the day. Yes, vision is not always
You
vision.
did say that. I remember hearing Hoop say, I think he said it to DJ one time, like something about the way that I edit stuff, my vision. And it's like, I do remember hearing you say that. And yeah, that was really cool to hear you say that as well. Who I'm like, wow, that these guys respect my work. That's pretty cool. You know what I mean? So I must be doing something right.
Definitely.
And
I remember you telling me about Hoop Jargon's channel and me going and listening to him, and I really, really enjoyed the style. And like you said, you could just hear the not only the knowledge, but the peace and acceptance that he's not going with the flow of what everybody thinks always, but not
right.
resisting it either, but speaking in his own opinion, which I
Yeah,
love
he
that.
walks to the beat of his own drum. He's not
Mhm.
swayed by a whole bunch of whatever, is coming. And that's who I, those are the type of people that I like to associate with. People who
Hmm.
have that understanding that that's what's real. It's not, necessarily what somebody's screaming at the top of their lungs out of their mouth. It's not necessarily what you see. It's not necessarily what you hear. And media manipulation is part of that. That's huge. Why is it that every 5 minutes we're seeing a commercial from, you know, oh, you can take this medicine and it may have these side effects? You know, why back in the day, commercials were about soap and cereal
Right.
and milk and perfume. And why is every other commercial focusing on being sick and
Because the
taking some type
pharmaceutical
of
industry has taken over they have the most money because the food that we're eating, unfortunately, and the different things, the mind things that they'll bring
it's
you in for one
control.
thing, and then you end up, like you said, with side effects of 10 other things, but they never tell you how to prevent it. And they're not telling us how to prevent, they're not doing things like this, what you're doing, to help us heal our mind. Instead, they're telling us we can take this, and this medication, which is then going to give you these side effects, which then that might send you to the doctor. It's like, unfortunately, it might have been done to manage things and help people at first, but we became a world of not wanting to prevent and heal. We became a world of how do we make money off people's pain and suffering and keep them in that system. And that is unfortunate, but that's just what has happened, and it has
and
to
and
start
big
to go the other
pharma,
way.
big pharma's a business. You know what I'm saying? I'm not hating on the business, but I am hating when all I do when I turn on my TV is I'm hearing the same shit over and over again. And I know that, basically all
But
you're
why am I
doing
not
is,
hearing equally as much other stuff as well? Like, hey, if
yeah,
you do
they're
this,
they're
this,
inserting they're inserting this stuff into weaker minds who can't,
yeah,
who don't know how to absorb it and deflect it. You know what I mean? And
yeah, not,
those minds are taking on those symptoms that they're constantly being inundated with.
and you
That's the
can even
purpose of
get
it.
through the barrier, and because it's not put out there in a mass way. I tell people sometimes that have type 2 diabetes that I'll speak to, maybe at work, or somebody I'll run into in the grocery store that might comment on what I'm buying or whatever, and I'll say, actually, you can reverse it. You just go online and Google reversing a plant-based diet. I mean, reversing a plant-based diet, reversing type 2 diabetes with a plant-based diet, or whatever the case might be, that health benefits of this particular food. And whether they do it or not, I don't know, because sometimes it's closed off because it's like, no, I was told by the doctor I have to be on this medication. I'm told on these commercials, because that's the agenda that that most not all doctors. I mean, there's plenty of really good doctors, and not that they're a bad person because that's how they're trained. It's just it is what has happened over
It's
time.
the matrix. It's people have forgotten that they are in control of their own selves. And they have let themselves become part of a system that wants to control them and tell them what to think, how to think, who to be, who to love, what to look like, and it's like,
If
no,
we
you
could come
forgot
up
to
with a
just
media
be,
network
yeah,
that would get as powerful as what that media network is, and would
yeah,
have as much money, if everybody like us would donate to that particular cause, we could put those commercials on that says, "Hey, guess what? I cured myself with this particular, diet. I did get over this. I did, put myself in a better situation mentally without medications, and I didn't have to live like this for," you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
there is so much that could be done, but that is where, like you said, even when something good comes out like that, there's a article that's paid for by a certain industry to make it sound like that's a bunch of bull,
See,
you
that's
know?
why I believe that one day I'm gonna end up living in the hills in China somewhere in the mountains or something like that. Because the most powerful people, most powerful man I think that ever walked, one of the most powerful men I think that ever walked the earth was Gandhi. Because Gandhi did something that most human beings will never in their lifetime do. And he did that by taking full power of himself, by withdrawing from the world while he was still in it. He didn't eat, he went on that hunger strike. He denied himself And he, while everything spun around him, he was still. And that's when you're at your most powerful, when nothing can get in there, nothing can take you this way and that way and every which way, and you can be completely content with absolutely nothing. That's when you are a full human being. That's when you're whole, and then everything else just adds to it.
Right. Exactly.
I think I'm
That
going
is
to end
that's
it
very
there, dude.
powerful.
I think I'm going to end it there because I just want to ponder on that, for a little while. That's huge. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? That's absolutely huge. You know, and that's the core part of acceptance. When you can accept absolutely nothing, then you have everything. You
Yeah.
know, you don't need a house. You don't need clothing. You know, I'm
Because
walking
we
around
are
and
who
don't
we
have
are without
eyesight. It's
any of
like
that.
I didn't realize I didn't need my eyes till I didn't have them.
Wow.
You know,
That's
so
powerful.
it's like, it's that's deep. But I really enjoyed today. I got a lot out of
Me
just
too.
putting this out there into the universe. And I love you being on here and interacting with me and getting so much out of it. I love the people coming on, Chandra and Hoop and Buddha and
Renee,
Renee and Rap God Reloaded. And, I
Victorious.
really appreciate you guys. Yeah, Hoop, I said Hoop, but
Oh, you said him first. I
yeah.
forgot.
But
Mine had cut out a minute.
I appreciate you guys so much. And anybody who listens to this on the replay game, if any of this has helped you or helps you, then that's what I want to do. That's what we want to do. And so, yeah, you know, um, share it with some people that may need to hear the things that we said today. Share it with them. And maybe that we can bring those people to this channel at every day at 12, and we can figure out how to help them get better. you know but every day 12 o'clock, I'm here. Whatever comes out, however long or short it is. It's not scripted. Okay, it's just here to be a motivating live stream, and whatever comes out of it. We go in the moment on this thing. Sometimes I don't even have a topic. You know what I'm saying? So that's what we're here to do. So thank you guys. I appreciate
I
you.
love
I
how
love
the
you.
topics take a turn, but they always come back to that one thing that it seems like it always comes back to that same process where we always tie them all in somehow, even if it's not
Yeah,
even on purpose. It has happened.
everything is
So thank
connected.
you for having me on, and I really enjoyed it.
Thank you. Peace and blessings, guys.